Hi BookTube, it's Friday, so that means it's time for Friday Reads. I love planning all my books I'm reading for the weekend because it's just such a nice time to look forward to, having 2 full days off. And I'm outside enjoying this really nice weather because I was able to come home a bit early before it got too hot, so I'm sitting out on the side of my patio. This weekend I'm participating in the Create Your Own Readathon, which created by Sarah from Steeped in Books, and I will leave a link in the description below to the Goodreads page. And so you can pick, it's with the title, it's like self-explanatory. Create Your Own Readathon means you can pick, a certain amount of how many hours you want to read, or a certain amount of pages, or if it's particular books you want to get through. And so this time I decided it's monthly. So this weekend I decided to do hours, and so I decided to do 10 hours because yeah, lots of reading plans. And so I'm thinking to like 5 and 5 Saturday, Sunday, but this Friday Reads will also include my reading plans for Friday as well. And so it's a lot of nonfiction picks, but along with that, I'm still working my way through a couple of read-alongs that I've been working my way through this whole month. The Wheel of Time series, Iliad, and The Prime Minister. I'm working all 3 of those still. It's like my fiction, and then also I might pick up some manga or graphic novels. But as far as the nonfiction, this is one I just started this afternoon, and it's The Pandemic Century, and there's a bunch of birds on the cover. It's a really interesting cover. It's The Pandemic Century, 100 Years of Panic, Hysteria, and Hubris by Mark Hunningsbaum. And this just came out a couple months ago, and each chapter focuses on a different pandemic that's happened over the last century or so. And so the first one was focusing on World War I, the different pandemics was going on with all of a sudden all these people from all over the world were like crunched in to a small space, and so that created an outbreak. And then the second chapter focuses on California, Los Angeles, and San Francisco with the bubonic plague. And so I just started the third chapter, which is called Parrot Fever. I think I just read the title. I haven't read that chapter yet. So yeah, each chapter focuses on a different pandemic, and I'm thinking it might end with what's expected in the future. With it's right now in 2019 isn't like it was back in 1900. We have different antibiotics and different medicines and different technology, but the plagues and all of that and pandemics are still happening, and there could be outbreaks still in the future to come. And so yeah, it's a really interesting book. And this next one is by an author that I read her These Truths earlier this year. Is one of my favorite books I read this year. And so this is one that just came out. It's This America by Jill Lepore, and it's The Case for the Nation. And it's a short book. It's only 160 pages, but there's notes, so it's maybe 130 pages. So I'm probably going to fly through this. And it says, at a time of much despair over the future of liberal democracy, Jill Lepore makes a stirring case for the nation in This America, a follow-up to her much celebrated history of the United States, These Truths. And so yeah, this is all about defending liberalism. And so These Truths was a really unique look at history in that it focuses a lot on the social aspects, the religious aspects, political aspects, going from the beginning of the United States all the way up until current day. And so I'm really looking forward to reading more of her writing. And this last nonfiction book I'm going to start but not finish, because it's not 130 pages like the other one, let's talk about covers. This is Fall and Rise, the story of 9/11 by Michelle Zukoff. And in this cover, I'll see if I can scoot out a bit. It's a blue cover, but on the bottom there's these clouds, and so this is where like the Twin Towers were. And so it's really evoking cover because they drop down, and then you have all of the debris and ash clouds coming from this. And so I haven't read a book solely on 9/11. I know it's got like a very depressing topic, but I've heard a lot of good things about this book, and so I do want to actually read a book on 9/11. I think all of us remember where we were when we heard the news of the catastrophe of 9/11. This is a 9/11 book like no other, masterfully weaving together multiple strands of the events in New York, at the Pentagon, and in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. In the days and months after 9/11, Michelle Zukoff, then a reporter for the Boston Globe, wrote about the attacks, the victims, and their families. After additional years of meticulous reporting, Zukoff has filled Fall and Rise with voices of the lost and the saved. The result is an utterly gripping book filled with the intimate stories of people most affected by the events of that sunny Tuesday in September. An out-of-work actor stuck in an elevator in the North Tower of the World Trade Center. The heroes aboard Flight 93 deciding to take action. A veteran trapped in the inferno in the Pentagon. The fire chief among the first on the scene in sleepy Shanksville. A team of firefighters racing to save an injured woman and themselves, and the men, women, and children flying across the country who suddenly faced terrorists bent on murder. And so yeah, this is one I'm going to be starting this weekend. And then the last one is a little bit more uplifting. Is I got this book recently. It's Jodie Thomas's Can't Stop Believing, with this cute cover. There's like a little inside cover of cats. So this will be a nice summer read. This came out in June of 2013, and this is book 6 in the Harmony series. And I read one other Jodie Thomas book, Ransom Canyon, and so this is my second book by her. But I haven't read any books in this series. But I think with romance books, you can, start and stop wherever you want in the series. And this Jodie Thomas, I think, really focuses on westerns and books set in Texas. And this one is no different. This is Cord McDonald gave up his freedom at 18 when he went to jail for a crime he didn't commit. Now, 10 years later, he's about to give it up again for a piece of land. Nevada Britton, his neighbor, has just made an offer he can't refuse. If he'll marry her, she'll give over a section of her property that their families have been fighting over for 100 years. Nevada refuses to explain why, but Cord knows the bargain is in his favor. And so this is like a like a light romance, and I really enjoy reading, like putting a focus on reading romances for the summer romance book bingo, because prior to this, the last time I read romance books, I think, was in February for Valentine's Day. And so I really like, especially seeing these like heavier books I read, having these light happy ending stories is really nice to like sprinkle in with like the heavier, denser books. So this will be a nice treat for me to get to. But other than my reading plans, I don't really have any other plans like normal. I was thinking of going to see Toy Story 4 in the movie theaters, but I was like, I had time today since I got off early, but I was like, I would rather be at home here, my quiet little patio, enjoying the nice outdoors and reading a book with hanging out with the dog instead of being in a noisy theater with people. And so yeah, I might get to it later this weekend, but we'll see. Let me know what you're reading and if you've read any of these books and if you have any nice weekend plans. So thanks. I'll see you soon, BookTube.